friends, welcome back to the Smoky Mirror Podcast, where we dive deep into the creative minds that are shaping our culture and inspiring us all. My name is Jordan Jones. I'm your host and fellow creator, and I'm on a mission to spread knowledge and inspiration to help people like you leave your mark on the world. From artists to musicians to entrepreneurs and more, join me as we explore the intentional act of creation and the forces that drive us to do God's work. As always, shout out to our sponsors, the number one up-and-coming streetwear brand on the planet, www.scut.shop. And I will now recite the Scut Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the emblem of the United Scut of the world, and to the Scut for which it stands, one nation, under Scut, into Scut, with liberty, justice, and Scut for all. Again, that's www.scut.shop. Our supplement sponsor, earthsaliva.com. Taste Earth's wisdom. And our other supplement sponsor, bngnow.com, aka Become Strong Cookies, protein cookies, 25 grams of protein, only 3 grams of sugar. Melanie knows about this. Giving you everything you need to go through everything and become strong. So with all that being said, we are here in the Locals studio. Big shout out to Locals for opening up their space to us. I have Melanie and Ailani, and they are a dynamic mother-daughter duo that are doing really crazy, incredible things, and I'm really excited to share their story with all of you. So guys, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having us. And I love the protein cookies.
They're amazing, right?
My favorite is the apple pie.
Yes, the apple pie is amazing. Shout out to Hans.
She loves it too.
Oh,
yes.
you love it too?
She tried the apple pie.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, they're going to be taking over. They're going to be like the next Quest or any other of those big brands. So keep your eye out.
Health is wealth.
Health is wealth. Absolutely. So I know that, Ailani, you have been up to some really incredible things, racking up accolades, giving speeches, and starting companies. So why don't you just tell us a little bit about what you've been achieving at your young age of 13?
So I'm in a movie called Sisters of Vengeance. It's to stop child trafficking. And I'm working with Paul Hutchinson to teach like the kids in Colombia post-trafficked to cook, art, music, and agriculture.
Wow.
Yeah.
So where did this movie come from? Like, it was your idea, or like how did that come to be?
So
No, so the movie is actually a short film, independent film. It's actually winning an award for with the film festival. Actually, this May in Orlando, they're doing the film festival, and it was produced by Patricia Deloise. She is a big advocate for anti-human trafficking, anti-child trafficking. And since Ailani, that is her charity through her pageant, and one of her passions is impact. And so it was in straight alignment. So she got invited to be in the film. And this Monday, she's actually recording a song for Sisters of Vengeance.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you're a singer and an actress.
yeah.
That's incredible. So I feel like we got a little bit ahead of ourselves because we didn't even talk about the pageant. We didn't even talk about your nonprofit. So let's just rewind a little bit. Let's talk about the pageant that you won. What was that all about?
So I'm Miss Teen Florida International, and I'm doing the pageant to inspire like people my age to make money, if that makes sense.
Okay. Because you want like young people to be entrepreneurs or at least get a job so they can be self-sufficient. So how did you get into like the pageant, and tell me about the experience of like winning it?
So she was nominated.
Okay.
So I guess we'll skip that. She was nominated here in Florida, and they gave her the title for Miss Florida Teen International.
Nice.
And she's going in July for the title of Miss International. It's an international award. So, you know, it really for her will give her a platform to speak to the world, to be global, to reach the different, you know, age groups all over the world. And, you know, for Ailani, she speaks 3 languages, so English, Spanish, and Italian.
4?
And a little bit of French. And a little bit of French, yeah. 4. So, you know, she can reach the masses because it's all about impact. But I think she's an incredible young girl, an incredible human, and yes.
Absolutely. So wait, how did you get nominated? Was it through school or like how did that go?
It's through the state of
Oh, through
Florida.
the state.
Yes,
Okay.
she was nominated and she actually won the title. And then from here, she goes to competition in July.
Nice. So is it like to win? Is it people voting? Is it judges or like how does that work?
It's the judges.
The judges,
Like I think
okay.
there's like 5 pageant judges.
Okay.
Yeah.
And did you have to like give a speech, wear like a dress and all that? Like,
Yeah.
wow. Can you tell me a little bit about that? Because I don't know much about pageants, but it sounds
So
pretty cool.
it's a beauty contest
Okay.
with like speech. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
So like you have a platform and yeah.
So like what did you have to like wear or how did that go?
Well, it depends on the theme of the pageant.
Okay.
Yeah.
What was the theme of this one?
Well, there's a couple.
Oh, there's a couple.
Yeah. So it was fun fashion, garden fashion, and elegant.
Mm.
And I'm pretty sure golf course. Yeah.
Wow. So how'd you get the outfits, Mom? Did you, did you get them or what?
So we've been very blessed. We have Ailani actually walked Paris Fashion Week for couture.
Wow.
And in doing so, she caught the eye of some couture designers. So they're actually designing her dress for the elegant, the actual pageant, her dream dress. So she's able to sketch out, envision what she wants, and the couture designer is going to design the dress for her for this July.
Wow. So model, actress, singer, and designer.
Yeah.
That's a pretty impressive resume already at 13. So then you were able to get the nomination, you win, and you said you wanted to have a platform to speak about a cause that was really near and dear to you. And what was that cause?
It's health, wealth, and mindset, my platform. And I think the main one is mindset. Because, whatever you believe and think about, you can like push yourself to do it and achieve it.
Absolutely. I think mindset is really important because what you believe becomes true for you. And a lot of times we start to tell ourselves stories and believe in things that aren't necessarily true, but we start to believe they're true. And so we make them true for ourselves. And a lot of times that holds us back. I know me personally, I had a lot of things that I had to kind of question, like, why do I believe this about myself? And when I did a little bit of pushing on that, I was able to change my mindset and say, no, like, that's not true. I can reimagine or I can create what I want to be real in my life. I think that's amazing.
It's true because, fear is the number one hindrance to our growth, right? So if you live in fear, if you're fearful of what if, then you never push past that limit, but what if? That's a powerful thought to change that mindset to think I can and be positive with the way that you even speak to yourself, like I will, I can, instead of I think I can.
Right.
Can you? Yes, I can.
One of the simplest things that I started doing is if people say, like, for example, oh, can you paint? I would say, I just don't practice a lot. Instead of saying, oh, no, I can't paint. Like, I just don't really practice it, but I'm sure I could paint. Just that little framing changes how you look at yourself and how you look at things in the world. So one thing that I was also curious about is, you just kind of dropped it willy-nilly. Like, oh, I was walking in Paris Fashion Week. How did you get involved in that? Like, what was that process like? Mom.
So talk about your experience in Paris Fashion Week. So we have a wonderful friend. She actually trains models, and Ailani's always aspired to be within the fashion and modeling industry, and she was invited, basically called to come out to Paris to walk for 3 different couture designers.
Wow.
So how was that experience? Or two
different ones?
couture, yeah.
Yeah, how was that?
It was scary at first, but then I got used to it and it was fun.
So now you're like, I can't wait for the next one.
Yeah.
Yeah. What like did they taught you how to walk and everything? What did you think about that?
Yeah, there was like practice rounds for the walking. It was really fun. I liked it.
And so you could speak French when you were out there a little bit?
A little bit, yeah.
What was Paris like?
It was beautiful.
Beautiful?
Yeah.
I bet. I definitely want to go. Did you guys do any like sightseeing or museums while you were there?
Kind of.
A little bit, just like we were so packed with the schedule
yeah.
that it was back to back, whether it was fittings or makeup or photo shoots, that really we didn't get to just relax and enjoy Paris the way
It was just
Paris
go,
is
go,
made to
go.
be
Yeah.
seen. But Ailani's been to Paris 4 times, so
Oh,
she was
okay.
there for the whole summer. So she
Nice.
really got to be fully immersed in the Parisian experience. And
Wow.
but so this time it was very much about the
Just
fashion,
working.
yeah,
Yeah, it
fashion
was all
week.
about work. Okay. And so you're going to be designing your dress for this upcoming pageant?
Yeah.
Can you share a little bit about inspiration or what are you thinking behind it?
So I really like a flared dress with like a bow behind, you know? So I really like that.
Nice. What color scheme we thinking?
I'm thinking not too plain, but not too colorful. So like in between.
Very nice. Very nice. That's all exciting. I mean, I like to do a little bit of modeling. I haven't been overseas yet, but I'm definitely trying to get like you guys and get into Paris. So I think that's incredible. I wanted to talk a little bit more about the human trafficking and how that has been kind of like important to you all, as to both of you, I'm assuming. How did you all like come to that, just land on that, like this is a topic or an issue that we want to really focus on and bring awareness to?
So I feel like not enough people know about it, but it's like really serious. So we're trying to bring awareness by the movie and everything. And yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, and I agree. And I think that, as a parent, it's on the forefront of your mind at
Right.
any moment. Tomorrow isn't a given day. And having a child, especially a female, is quite difficult because child trafficking is more common than you would think. And it can be by a loved one. It could be, by social media. So, I've trained Ailani on social media to be very careful about tagging location,
Right.
even logos, certain things in the background, because people can find where you are, and humans by innate are creatures of habit.
Yep.
And so you have to be very mindful and aware of your surroundings, what you're posting, and what you're presenting to potential online predators. And, for example, in working with Paul Hutchinson and hearing some of the stories, it's quite dark on a lot of aspects of child trafficking, be it, modeling agencies.
Right.
And that's one of the reasons, we work with Model Mafia, who actually are anti-child, anti-human trafficking as well. They're very big on that aspect of the modeling agency, because a lot of times people will pose as an agent or a photographer, and it's the perfect environment to take a child.
Yep.
So just bringing about awareness is very important in the community, and it is a hard topic to speak about. And that's why for Ailani, I'm very happy that she's dealing with the after. She's bringing awareness, but she's also doing something with the children that have been through the trauma,
Right.
by giving back and, teaching them how to cook and art and music, and just ways that they can get back to who they are, after the traumas that they've endured.
Yeah, that's beautiful, because I think, it's one thing to do prevention, but we know these things are happening, and what is happening to people, once they escape those terrible situations. So I think it's great that you have a foundation that's dedicated to that. I think, we absolutely need more like social media training or just awareness on giving your little kids, a TikTok or an Instagram and posting pictures of them, even if in their like swimsuits and things like that. You can think it's cute, but people are out there really like preying on your children. And so, I think that isn't really emphasized enough when it comes to online, since it's so new. And that's something I kind of worry about. I have younger sisters, I got young people in my life. I have young parents that I'm friends with, and I'm just like, be careful with social media, because it really is a little scary.
It is scary. It is scary. And, that's why being aware, I think awareness is where it's at, because the more you know, the more you're able to protect yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And we even take it a step further. Like for Ailani, she's we've always been in mixed martial arts and Brazilian jiu-jitsu, because I want her to, you know, have a fight. If she ever gets in a situation where she has no option, I would rather her have a skill set to, you know, fight than not.
I love that.
You know.
Yeah, I'm 100% advocate for that. I tell my sisters to carry weapons on them because, I mean, the two of them are in Cali, so it's kind of hard, but no, like I think that's 100% a great, you know, mechanism to have, because yeah, I would want to be there, or you want to have, you know, friends or family members that can protect you, but if all else fails, you want to be able to defend yourself, put up enough of a fight that they might decide to leave you alone because it's making too much noise or what have you. So
exactly.
One thing I'm wondering is, how do you have time to do all this with the modeling, the fashion, the acting, martial arts? Like, how do you have time to do all this?
Well, it's like all like kind of rushed, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like all packed together, like one thing after another.
Sure. Do you ever feel a little overwhelmed, or?
Yeah.
Yeah. How do you kind of like get through that feeling? Or
I just push myself to do it, and like the faster you do it, the faster it's over, you know?
you quickly get it done.
Yeah.
I like that. Mom, what was it like, kind of like planning out her life? Because it seems like there's so much going on. It couldn't have just been willy-nilly. Like, how did you kind of like come up with this little plan? It seems like things are in motion.
Yeah, so it's quite interesting, because I would say Ailani is an old soul. Like, she's well versed beyond her years. She's a very smart girl. She's very inquisitive. She has been from day one. Like, even when she was 8 years old, she created her own company called Tarte Cookie. So that's like Spanglish, right? So it's cake and cookie. And she was like, I'm going to school. I'm going to sell cheesecakes.
I sold one cake.
one cheesecake?
I stopped.
Yeah.
But hey, you still sold one.
She started her company. She sold her cheesecake. But what's even more incredible is she created a line sheet at 8 years old. She was like, this is how much the products cost.
I actually have an apron and a chef hat.
Wow, that's crazy.
I'm pretty sure I still have it.
You do.
At 8 years old, that's pretty incredible. People are trying to figure out how to count and read.
She's
and
over
all that.
here like,
right.
I'm going to start my own company.
And
I'm
here we
like,
go. Here's an invoice.
All in, go for it, you know?
I'm pretty sure I was younger.
Yeah, maybe 7. Yeah. But I mean, I've always been a supporter for anything that she envisions. And I love watching her grow because she thinks outside of the box. She, you know, for example, when we went home to North Carolina, my grandpa's like, Ailani, if you go to college, I'll give you money to go to college. I always support my grandkids, you know, my great grandkids. And she was like, Mom, what if I don't want to go to college? And I'm like, listen, if that's not your path, I'm okay. You know, because what she sees is both her father and I were in the medical field for many years. I was a ER trauma nurse for about 25 years. And while it was a beautiful career and I saved lives, I held the hands of people that were passing away. It was an incredible career. It wasn't financially rewarding. So moving to Miami, being 6 figures as a nurse is just not going to cut it, like low 6 figures. And so Ailani witnessed me kind of take the quantum leap of faith and just say, you know what, I've done this beautiful career. Now it's time to go in on me, like all in, blindly taking that leap of faith. And that's when I transitioned from a nurse into an entrepreneur. And it's financially rewarding. It really is. So now I'm able to, you know, I don't look at money as anything more than a tool, because I think when you're an innately good person and you have an abundance, you can do more good and create more impact. And so I look at money as a tool. And by being able to do these high-level, high-ticket deals, whether it's commodities, real estate, working with, you know, high net worth individuals, family offices, you know, commissions are quite high. And it allows us to travel. It allows us experiences, and it gives us the most valuable asset, which is time. Because when I was a nurse, and I would be coming home like 6:30, 7 p.m. And Ailani gets out of school at 2:30. So I didn't see that as fair.
2.
a 2. Yeah. So I didn't see that as fair for her. So as a mom, I was like, you know what? It's time to give back everything that I can and be everything that I know that I can, to create the most impact for our society, for my daughter. And I think as a parent, it's our job to educate them on the countless opportunities that are out there.
Absolutely.
You don't have to be one tracked minded, and you don't have to do one thing. You can do multiple things. As you see, she's like got her hands in a couple of different things. And I
Right.
think that's how you find your passion. So one word that I live by is actually a Japanese word called ikigai. Ikigai means purpose. Like, what's your purpose? What gets you out of bed every day? If you don't follow life with a passion, you're not going to be successful. So in order to be successful, you have to have passion.
Absolutely.
And you have to know what it is you want to do. Like, what do you want to create? Do you want to create a massive ripple effect and create the biggest impact possible? How can you accomplish that? So it's thinking outside the box. And that's why I'm really excited for her journey as, Miss Teen International, or Miss Florida Teen International, because it's giving her a speaking box. It's giving her the ability to speak to more audience.
I love that. I love how it all comes together around mindset and the overall theme of like being courageous enough to believe in yourself and to take chances. I do want to go back a little bit to, the trauma nurse pivoting to entrepreneurship, because I know that was scary. Like, what was it? What was going through your head? Or like, what can I do? Or like, how did you land on your business that you ended up pursuing?
Yeah, so interesting. I was actually at a networking event, and it was Miami style here in Miami. We do business on yachts, right?
Right.
So it was a yachting event, a networking yachting event. And I met some entrepreneurs. Many of them were in the funding space. They were, getting people lines of credit, business loans, maybe traditional loans through the banks. It could be private money, hedge funds, family offices, things like that. And I found it so intriguing, and I'm like, that sounds fun, because everybody needs money.
Right, everybody needs it.
And it's great to leverage OPM, other people's money, because a billionaire is not going to use their own liquidity. They're not going to use their own capital.
Right.
They're going to use OPM, to invest. And something that I even taught Ailani, for example, is life insurance. Utilizing a life insurance policy where you can borrow against it tax-free, take that money, invest it, get a return on your investment, pay off the loan, and you get like a 12% return on a life insurance policy annually. So going back, just putting myself in the thick of it, I would say, just being around the right people and just really picking their brains, like, how are you so successful at what you do? Like, how are you where you are?
Right.
And I call it a master connector. I just love connecting with people, learning from others. And I was like, I can do this. I can do this for myself. So I was in a job that is very difficult.
Definitely.
I mean, I was a clinical liaison, and it's long hours. It's not easy. It's a lot of work. And it's tough.
Yeah.
It was tough. So I was at the point of like semi-burnout.
I'm going to say 25 years of that is stressful. I'm surprised you don't have no gray hairs. Like,
I know.
That's
Like
crazy.
the average burnout rate on an ER trauma nurse, I think, is about 5 years.
Yeah.
So I stayed in the ER for 20. I was a clinical liaison for almost 5. So a long time in the medical field. And, the medical field isn't always easy either, because the system is not there for the patients always. You have high blood pressure. They're not really getting down to the root cause of why you have blood pressure. They're giving you a medication to try to fix the problem, which is just like a Band-Aid on a bleeding artery.
right.
It's not really, the solution. It's like, how are you eating? Are you sleeping? Are you exercising?
Right. What are you eating?
Do you have, family genetics that maybe are causing high blood pressure, kidney problems? Like, whatever that cause is, get to the root cause. And so being in the medical field and seeing kind of how our system in the U.S. was also disheartening, I would say. It was also very hard, because I wanted to educate and really help others understand, but our system isn't set up for that.
It's funny. I was actually, when I came down to Miami, I was a teacher, and I had a similar experience of being like, wow, like this isn't really about the kids. Because if it was, we'd be changing things. And so, I kind of going back to what you said about money, it's like I wanted to be able to have an influence on things beyond, on the system beyond just being inside of it, because I realized that wasn't the best way to change it. And so, things like this, spreading awareness and knowledge about different opportunities and lifestyles is one of the ways I'm combating it. But I just love the entrepreneurship piece because it gives you so much freedom to, like you said, your passion. Because at the end of the day, like getting up and going to work is fine, but it's like not really animating your soul or your spirit. You know, you're not going to really want to push and work hard for things that your heart isn't in. And I think that you do your best work when you're feeling inspired and you're driven by that ikigai, like you mentioned. So I definitely wanted to underscore all that. I wanted to ask if you could share, you know, when we were chatting at that event, you were mentioning the Emerald deal. Can you share a little bit of details of that, or is that private?
So it is kind of private
Okay.
because, you know, in the deal making world, you sign
NDAs, of
NDAs,
course.
NCAs, things like that. So I can't really discuss, but I can talk about deal making
Okay,
in
talk about
itself.
deal making.
So in the deal making world, it's quite interesting. So basically, it could be a commodities deal where it's like coal or jet fuel or aluminum ingots, things like
Wow.
that. So there's a lot of commodities. Basically, you connect the buyer to the seller. And if the protocols are in alignment, the deal gets done. And so 101 deal making is a lot of time greed will kill any deal, or miscommunication, or time. Time is essential. You have to be like readily available to get the deal done.
Right.
So that's something that Ailani sees on a daily basis with me. She's looking at me. You know, it's a lot of calls, it's a lot of work,
Yeah.
but it is very financially rewarding because not all deals go through. Deals can go sideways 5 different ways.
Yeah.
But it's just making sure that you're vetting the seller and the buyer, or the lender and the borrower, whatever it may be, so that it's in alignment and that it makes sense. Because if I'm bringing you a deal that you're like, Mel, I don't know I don't know this. This is not my scope. You know, this is not my niche. You're not going to get the job done. So you have to know and do your due diligence to vet your clients and the sellers again, so that they're in alignment and matches, and then the deal is smooth.
That's
It goes
perfect.
organically, it flows, and you get it done.
You seem like a master networker. How did you find yourself in that space? Because that doesn't seem like something you just naturally do by being a nurse.
So it's something innate. I've always been very friendly. I live in my core values. I think that's what makes me a little bit different, and same for Ailani. It's living in transparency, honesty, and impact. I think when your why is bigger than yourself and you're actually doing it to help others, I think people resonate with that, and they can see that you're being honest and that you're actually trying to help them. So, for example, if you bring me a deal, I will do everything I can to get the job done. You know, if it makes sense and if I can get it done, I work hard to do that. And I do it because I want to see you win too. You know, I think that you can teach a village, you know, how to fish so everyone can eat.
Right.
I'm not just going to give you the fish. We're going to work together. It's a partnership and it's mutually beneficial. So I kind of look at deal making in that way. I think it's more of a, you know, just being organic, transparent, honest, and doing what's right by others is how deals go through. I think when people get too greedy or they become more about themselves than the deal itself, that's when it gets, you know, squished.
Definitely. Yeah. Greed kills. I think greed is one of those things where it's like, it's nice to be ambitious, you know, it's nice to want to get the most out of things, but you know, having that, you got to have an abundant mindset and be like, all right, I don't need to squeeze every last penny out of this person or, you know, sacrifice the whole deal just because I want to feel like I won. So that's really important. Do you have any, maybe, I know we got the NDAs and everything, but any like high level details of a deal that went either really well or really poorly that you think you might, you know, people could learn from?
So I have one. It's not really a deal. It's something that I'm involved in right now, which is very exciting. I'm actually with Dealmakers. We are taking Dealmakers to sea. And it's a residential cruise line. We're going to be traveling all throughout different continents. This summer, we're starting in Europe. And what we're doing is we're bringing entrepreneurs, like-minded entrepreneurs, on board to leverage each other's networks to bring deals to the table and get the deals done. So it's about 6 weeks. We're traveling all over Europe. It's global entrepreneurship.
Wow.
And it's something very unique. So I'm very excited about the project. We're going to have mastermind, how to market, how to leverage networks, how to ensure deals are done properly from start to finish, so that communication is clear and that you're vetting the clients well. Because I'll tell you, I get tons of deals and I turn a lot of deals away because they just don't make sense, or they're not well vetted, meaning not legit. I'll see a lot right now in the crypto space, for example, from like USDT. They're like, I want to do $200 million dollars into USDT, and it's not always a legit transaction. Now it can be, and if it's if it lines up and the procedures and protocols are in place, we can get that across the finish line. But so essentially, the project that we're working on is, I would say, creating impact. It's a different way to do business. Because could you imagine being on a cruise ship for 6 weeks, cruising throughout Europe? You have Starlink, you have a 3D printer, but not on top of that, you have 20 other entrepreneurs with their networks that are powerful networks. You're going to get deals done.
Yeah, it sounds pretty incredible. I mean, how did you even, you said this is through Dealmakers? Is that an organization?
It's Dealmakers.
Okay.
So we're called the Dealmakers, and we're a trio kind of thing right now, but we have a massive network. And so we're leveraging one another's networks, teaching, educating others. For example, I have over 500 different family offices in my network. It's just honestly leveraging the right connections.
The right connections. Wow,
Yeah.
That's great. And I mean, you're everywhere. You're at the gym thing. You're traveling around, and I heard Ailani's gonna be joining you on the cruise at some point too.
Yeah. You can talk about.
So I'm gonna be working with how do you call it,
The entrepreneurs,
the
the deal makers,
the global
business, global entrepreneurs.
that
Global entrepreneurs. And what are you hoping to learn from that experience?
how to what she does, connect people.
Is that, do you think, I mean, because you're singing, you're acting, you're doing all this stuff, do you think you might want to follow mom's steps and be a deal maker one day? Or what do you think for the future?
So I want to either be a model, an actress, or a really good saleswoman. Yeah.
I feel like you could probably do all those at the same time, honestly.
Yeah, it's leveraging, as a model. It's like I tell Ailani, this is kind of how I educate my daughter. For example, we come from humble beginnings. I'm what you call the disruptor. I'm the one that's breaking the cycle in my family. My dad was a fireman. My mother was a teacher. I was a nurse. It's kind of, the pattern. So
And where'd you grow up?
I grew up in North Carolina.
North Carolina. Oh,
Home state of Michael Jordan.
There we go.
Yeah. So, I'm the disruptor, and I'm doing this because I'm disrupting the cycle so that my children have the ability and option to do what they really want to do and be successful. And so, I teach Ailani, for example, leveraging her network and her platform as a model in the fashion industry, the beauty queen. Look at Cindy Crawford, for example. She's an old school model.
Yep.
I might be dating myself a little, but she was a very successful model. But she utilized that platform, and she has, furniture. We're High Point is furniture capital of the world. Is where we're from, North Carolina. She has her own furniture line, and how does she market that furniture line? Her signature,
Right.
which comes from her modeling years. Everybody knows Cindy Crawford was a model. And so she's able to leverage that for selling furniture, monetizing it, right? So, I think that as she moves forward and she finds herself and she connects to who she really wants to be even more, she can leverage all of these, the modeling, the fashion industry, the pageants, the working with the children, the movies, what have you, whatever she wants to get involved in, it's only going to create, success and help open more doors for her in the future.
That. Ailani, what do you love most about your mom?
She's hardworking, and she's really kind to people. A little too kind sometimes.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
I could see that.
That's, I would say, if anyone was to ask me what my weakness would be, I would say being too nice and saying yes. But I would say 2023 was a year of boundary building.
There we go.
It was my year of implementing boundaries and no, and being okay with saying no. And she's going, no.
not enough, huh?
But it's something that we learn as we grow, even as adults.
Definitely.
Because we all have our strengths and weaknesses, and it's tapping into learning and growing with those weaknesses, and saying, you know what, maybe I should have said no, or maybe I should have created a boundary, or even a hard stop.
Yeah.
Like, for example, in deal making, if it doesn't make sense, why waste that energy and to continue on something that's not going to advance? It's better to just be like, it's not something I can help you with.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I wish I could, but it's not my scope of practice, or it's not within my network. Because, time is the most valuable asset.
Yep.
And you can't get it back. You can't buy more of it. And so for myself, learning how to say no is creating more time, more freedom of time.
Literally.
Getting my time back.
That's great. Yeah, no, boundaries is huge, especially for people pleasers. Sometimes I feel like I can be a little bit of because naturally I'm kind of giving and like I want to help people out, but that does take a toll on you. And eventually you do need to say, all right, like this is where the buck stops.
Yeah.
And sometimes, I'm a very agreeable person, so I don't want people to kind of be feeling some kind of way towards me, but I've had to learn to be like, nah, like this is how it is. Like, you gotta protect yourself. You're the number one, and if you're being drained or pulled, then you can't show up for other things and other people in your life that you need to be there for. So that's definitely a good message.
I agree. And, I think life is all about, growth and tapping into your full potential. And I do think as individuals, we're not the same person we were in our teens, in our 20s, in our 30s, in our 40s, and 50s, 60s, whatever. We're constantly evolving, constantly changing, and that's what life's all about. It's about experiences and growth and impact.
Yeah, and growth and impact. And you literally aren't the same person. Like your cells are reproducing, and
it's true.
Like you're literally not the same person. It's crazy.
We talked a little bit on our first meeting about biohacking.
Yeah.
I definitely geek out on biohacking, everything to tap into your full potential as far as health and, like whether it's eating healthy, taking the right supplements, cold plunges. Talked about cold. I love cold plunges. Red light therapy, ozone. I could go on. And actually, it's quite interesting. I hate to go on a tangent, but I'm also working on an incredible project, which I can kind of talk, state-of-the-art hospital and wellness center, and we've gathered together an incredible panel of scientists, anti-aging scientists, a Nobel Prize winner that's in epigenetics.
Wow.
Also physicians that have created patents, particular patents that, I don't know, this panel is absolutely incredible.
It sounds
and
like it.
A game changer, and I'm very excited to be involved in this endeavor, and it's going to be very impactful. I know I keep saying impact, but this is something that I'm looking forward to being involved in, because health is wealth. Without your health,
What do you have?
you
Right.
have nothing. And more than just being the acute care side is the preventative side,
Absolutely.
like functional medicine, getting back to our roots, like tapping into the foods that we consume. Because, looking at the US in general, for example, the foods on the market are a lot of times are forbidden, or, like the FDA approves a lot of foods here that are
They're
not
banned
allowed
everywhere
in
else.
Europe.
Yeah.
So, really being conscious consumers and tapping back into our roots, eating organic food, maybe growing our own, vegetables. And
I would love to get back to that. More local produce, everybody growing their own vegetables and herbs in their garden.
yeah.
And let me just make sure I heard you. We are on a little bit of a tangent, but I'm curious, like, did you like call them, hey, President such and such, like, this is my idea, or like, how did that come to be?
It's again all about networking, and so working with the Dealmakers. Again, we have an extensive network. I was blessed to be able to go to a cruise conference here in Miami, which is an international global cruise conference where there's a lot of prime ministers, governors, presidents.
Wow.
Like a lot of high level. I would say, how would you say? They're making a huge movement
Yeah,
towards creating a more sustainable future.
that's great.
And really, like I said, tapping back into the roots where we really should be looking for health and development, eco-friendly, making an impact. Sorry.
One thing there's no problem saying impact. It's gonna be a impact counter like 900 times, but it's important. Like that's the
Yeah.
theme. Like when you are trying to show up for people and you want to have that impact, like great things happen, and you can call it God or the spirituality or whatever starts to move in ways that you would never expect to help you reach that impact that you're looking for.
Yeah.
One thing I wanted to ask you, Ailani, is who are some people maybe around your age or a little bit older than you that you might be looking for like inspiration, or people you think are cool?
I need to think about this.
Sure, think about it.
Like my age?
They don't have to be your age, but just who are you like looking up to, or people that inspire you? Mom, of course.
That's a very good answer.
That's a
Brownie
good
points
answer.
for that
Yeah, right. Give her some ice cream or something on the way back, right?
one. We're in Wynwood, so we
love
could
that.
definitely get some ice cream.
Who inspires you, Mom?
Countless individuals. Many. I look up to many individuals. It doesn't have to be anyone famous.
Right.
My daughter gives
Of
me
course.
motivation every day. She's my why. She's one of my whys.
I love that.
Even from, just people that I come in contact with. I'll give you one example, one physician, Dr. Taylor. If you hear this, Dr. Taylor, this is for you. She's an incredible woman. She was a ER physician that I worked with for many years. Being a woman in the medical field as a physician is not always the easiest feat. And she was well respected because she was incredibly talented, smart. She was able to walk into the room and diagnose by looking at you. She could really do a primary assessment and figure out what was going on with the patient very quickly. So she really not only was intelligent, she advocated, she did what was right, and that's something else that is also admirable.
Yeah.
To really advocate, even maybe if it's against the system,
Right.
doing what's right. So I looked up to her from day one. I remember her, bringing me into the room as a new nurse. Come on, Mel, let's go in. Like, here's a trauma. Like, let's get your feet wet. And she just really kind of helped me grow as a nurse and also as an individual, because when I was younger, when I was Ailani's age, I was very shy and quiet. So being an ER nurse, it kind of broke me out of my bubble.
I bet.
It made me more vocal. It made me more confident. And working with Dr. Taylor, it even brought out that confidence even more. So I would say Dr. Taylor is one. And what?
Maria?
Maria. Yeah, my best friend Maria. Her and I are of the same mindset. We've always been kind of in the same track our whole lives. She's also an ICU nurse, a mother of three, incredible woman as well. Very strong. I look up to her. She's a go-getter.
I love that.
I would say, really, when it comes to who I look up to these days, is the disruptors. I look at the ones that are really creating a massive ripple, ones that are going against the grain, not really bending necessarily to society, but thinking outside of the box and making a massive change, whether it's with, charities like the Sisterhood of Vengeance and Paul Hutchinson spearheading operations to help, with the children, and different individuals that, like for example, there's an incredible group right now in Bali that are building houses for the indigent people in Bali.
In Bali,
And
wow.
they're just collecting private money, investors, and they're building homes for these individuals that have nothing. So for one of my long-term goals, if you were to ask me a long-term goal, I would really like to create a community for homeless children in South America, because with everything that's going on, the corruption, a lot of the children get separated from their families and become homeless, living on the streets. They don't have their basic needs even covered. So I want to create a safeguard community in these areas for children to not only have their basic needs covered with housing, clothes, medical, but I also want to give them education to tap into a skill set
Right.
that can make them successful.
I love that.
So that's a long-term goal for me.
That's great. I love that. Ailani, you seem like you're dying to say something. What's up?
I was trying to tell her Quest to Freedom.
Quest to Freedom. Quest to Freedom is an incredible charity as well. They're for anti-child trafficking. I do agree. Ailani loves this charity.
Why do you love them so much, Ailani?
The owner,
It's okay.
well, he is so nice and inspired me to the trafficking.
That's great. Yeah, I mean, me personally, I also think the human trafficking is a big thing, because I see our government, or you see all these big names of famous people being kind of linked to that, and then it kind of just disappears. And when I think about how many people are disappearing, how many children are disappearing every year, there's no way it could be that number unless it was some sort of systemic, elite-driven operation. And so I'm always a little, I guess you could say it's a little bit conspiratorial, but it's look, somebody's doing it, and if they're not going to, investigate these things and make it more public, then we need to, as the public, as the people, we need to take care of our own, and we need to spread awareness so that we can protect as many of the children as we can, because we see that the government isn't going to be somebody we can rely on when it comes to protecting our most vulnerable.
Yeah, I agree. And I think I agree with that 100%. And I think it's important for our children to feel safe.
Yeah.
They should be able to go to school without fear of what if. They should have that safety. And, that's something that even when speaking with Paul Hutchinson and Ailani, he was like, Ailani, do you realize that by being vocal on this, maybe a child that's living with her family, maybe one of the family members are doing something that isn't appropriate. And she feels inspired by you to stand up and say something.
Yep.
Like, hey, mom, hey, dad, this is happening. I don't think it's right. They can take action.
That's absolutely right. I mean, even on this podcast, somebody could see it and be inspired and be like, you know what? I'm going to stand up for myself because people are talking about it. She's just like me. I can do this. So, yeah, I think it's beautiful. And I definitely want to encourage you to keep it up, because I think it's so admirable. Ailani, as you think about the future, what do you think best case scenario? I know you said you want to be a model and an actor, maybe a saleswoman, but what do you see as passion and impact isn't the right word, but just kind of like your life? What do you think it's going to be like?
So I really like fashion, so really anything in fashion. because with fashion you can express yourself in a way that words can't. So anything that has to do with fashion or design.
Interesting. And who are some of your favorite designers? You draw a blank. If you don't have any, you can say that too.
No, I don't have any.
That's nice. I like to get into design too a little bit. I bought a sewing machine, so I'm really getting my hands wet, but
You're sewing.
I'm a novice. Yeah, I'm sewing. I'm trying to learn. I mean, it's hard to just, thread the needle on this sewing machine. So I'm on that level, but I like to design and express myself too, because again, I think we have a lot of cultural cachet as Americans because what we do is cool. So it's like if we can make anything mainstream, we can make it popular, we can drive a whole movement behind it, we can be more intentional about what we are creating a ripple effect with. So that's why I see a lot of power in fashion, because I see how much people will be killing themselves just to put on something that identifies them as in elite or in luxury or like high class. So what if we could flip that on its head and get people to chase after something else to be proud of? I think that's where, for me personally, the clothing and design is really, I can see the potential for really positive change.
No, for sure. And it's quite interesting because when we were in Paris, we one of our friends is Artlanta, and so he's very much in that realm, right? So he's a creator, whether it's art or music or even fashion. He's also kind of disrupting that space. And it's funny because one of his posts the other day was like, oh, why don't you have a check on Instagram? Why aren't you verified? Well, because that doesn't really matter.
Right.
I am who I am.
Right.
I'm verifiable off the net.
Right. Yeah.
Like I'm doing what inspires me, and I want to inspire others, and I think that's what he's doing. And we also have a good friend, India. She's in fashion, and she's also very creative. We met her also in Paris Fashion Week, and she's also a disruptor. She's breaking that cycle, and she's going out and being creative and doing what inspires her and inspiring others through that movement. And I think it's very much like you said, all these name brands, high-end brands, people like them because it's a status symbol.
Yeah.
But I think it should be more than just a status symbol. I think it should be something that gives back.
Yeah.
And creates a movement.
Yeah. You should be want to inspire for more than just money or a status, And I think I can feel our humanity's collective consciousness getting there eventually, but we're not there yet. But it comes with people disrupting, and I think we're having a lot more authentic perspective thanks to social media and long form media like podcasts and things like that, where you can really get to know people and like them more than just the people you see on CNN or the main TV shows, because for so long they've dominated the space.
Right.
So I love that. I love what Arlanda's doing. He's a friend of the show. Really down to earth guy.
Very nice.
I love people who, and even you. I mean, Melanie, you're over here. Oh, hey, Prime Minister, such and such. Hey, President. You know what I'm saying? But then you'll also talk to me at the gym thing, like, oh, hey, Jordan. We're having a long conversation. So I love people who are just real and genuine, and they don't take themselves too seriously.
No,
so
I think you shouldn't take yourself too seriously. And I think that for me, I value respect, right? So I'm going to treat the janitor the same way that I'm going to treat a billionaire.
Right.
Just because you have money doesn't make you a better person. And it's like I tell Ailani all the time, like when you are a good person innately and you have an abundance in your life, then that allows even more ability to do more good. If you're a bad person and you have an abundance, sometimes you can do more bad.
Right.
You know what I mean? And being humble is everything. I think being humble is everything. For example, when you see people that really have a lot of money and they're good people and they're kind, they might be wearing sweatpants and you don't know that they're a billionaire. They might be driving around in a Honda and they have more money in their bank than you could ever imagine.
Yeah.
And then you see someone else that may not be a good person driving around in a Urus saying, oh, I'm, look at me, I'm peacocking, I have this, that, and the other. They may have like 2 cents to rub together in their bank, and they're not doing impact. They're all about themselves. So I think that, finding those like-minded people and really being who you are and connecting to who you are innately, your vibe attracts your tribe.
I like that. Your vibe attracts your tribe. I haven't heard that one before, I think. Did you come up with that?
No.
Okay. That's good, though.
I can't take credit for that.
No,
but,
really good.
What I mean is like good people will attract good people.
Yeah, absolutely.
I
100% believe in, frequencies and vibrations. Everything is vibrating, and when you get your frequency to a certain point, like, you attract like-minded energy. Yeah.
Alignments.
It's real. I want to go back to something you said, and I've heard you say before, that quantum leap of faith.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit more about that phrase and what it means to you.
Yeah, so for me, the quantum leap of faith is, faith is just that. It's blind, right? It's something that you can't see. It's not really tangible. It's not in your hands. You can't see it. You can't feel it. You can't touch it. It's just something that you have to believe in. And taking a quantum leap of faith is literally going from what you know and what you're comfortable with and putting yourself out there and having, faith in the innate abilities that you have as a person to get it done, to accomplish what you want to. And so when I look back at breaking that cycle, taking that leap of faith and saying, you know what, I don't want to be a nurse anymore. I'm going to give this a go. I have no plan B. So if plan A doesn't work out, I'm just going to pivot.
Yeah.
And I'm going to stick with plan A until it works out. So, I think that's what taking the quantum leap is.
That's great. I love that fearlessness, because I think fear is what really keeps us boxed in, but it doesn't really exist. Fear is, I love the acronym, false evidence appearing real.
Oh, I love that.
Because for so long, or for so much of the fear is really in your head. And that was a big realization that I had to come to. Kind of when I was doing the whole mindset work, it's like, wow, I was scared of things that weren't real, and that was holding me back. Even when I first started the podcast, I was like scared to edit it because I didn't want to hear my voice. I was scared of some of the stupid questions I asked, or like some of the dumb comments, and I'm just like, oh my God. Like, I was really scared to do it, but then I'm like, wait, I did it. Like, nothing happened. I didn't die. Like, nobody's making fun of me.
Right.
And even if they were, like, it doesn't change anything.
It doesn't change anything. And I think that's where people are not successful, is if they live in fear and they don't push past those boundaries and they don't have faith in themselves. They're their own downfall, right? And it's not easy being an entrepreneur and saying, you know what, I'm giving up what I've done for the last 25 years.
Yeah,
I'm going to just flip the switch and do something completely outside of what I've always done. Like, who does that?
Right.
Mel
Only
does
a crazy
that.
person, right?
You have to be a little crazy. Mel does that.
Yeah.
I went in all in, and the reason why is because I know I can do it. Since I was little, my mom would always say, Mel, when you were a little kid, you would always say, I'll do it myself. Because I like getting things done. But it's because even when it's tough, I just keep going.
Yeah.
Nobody sees the tears behind the
Right,
shine,
right.
right? They see the success and they're like, oh, she got lucky or he got lucky. There's a lot of work behind that luck that people don't see. And it's okay to fail, because in the failure, that's when you learn more about who you are, and you learn what didn't work so that you can correct those patterns, those behaviors, or, whatever you did that didn't work out, switch it up.
Right.
Try and try again. If you fall, get back up.
Absolutely. I see the fear as a macro thing. Like, I feel like that's also used to control people and keep them from really experiencing that abundance and unlimitedness for themselves. Because I think, kind of like you said, you're scared to fail. You're scared that this isn't the right way to do things. You'll be homeless, or, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's all that kind of goes into it. And even when it comes to the election cycles, global events and politics, like, there's always a fear. It's rarely ever a rational, sober conversation. It's always these people are terrorists, these people are Nazis, and there's zero real debate.
Yeah.
And I see that as that's one of the big impetuses for me wanting to start the podcast. It's like, I want to have longer form conversations where people can slow things down and say, like, let's get to the bottom of it instead of acting so much in emotion.
Yeah.
Because when we act in emotion, we can't process and we can't make right decisions. We're just going off instinct, letting your body and your animal instincts like kick in, and
fight or flight.
Right. That's not what we want when we're making real long-term decisions.
No, I agree. And I think that, like I said, when you live in fear, it inhibits your success, and it inhibits your ability to have a clear mindset. Something that I'm big on is visualization. So I do practice this, and it helps keep me in alignment. So I visualize the person that I want to become, and I take that person that I want to become and I actually work backwards to who I am today. And there's no competition out there against me. I am my own competition.
Right.
So I look at the successful Melanie and who she is, who she represents. What is the habits that she's implementing? What is she doing on a day-to-day basis? And who is the Melanie that's sitting here in the chair today? How am I going to get to that 2.0 version of myself? Well, I'm looking at the habits that she has that's created that success. Maybe it's saying no, creating those boundaries. Maybe it's really vetting the deals properly, that I'm putting my energy into something that I know I can actually get the job done, and saying no to the ones that unfortunately I'm not going to be able to get done.
I love that.
And getting my time back, because again, time for me is the most valuable asset, and I want to utilize it to the max to give back, to have life experiences, to travel around the world with my daughter, to create memories, to have love. And that's the reason I went all in.
I love that. I think that's great. And I think you just gave all of us a real actionable step that we could take. So like, you in your life, you can sit there and imagine like, what's the best case scenario of like who I would be in the next 10 years, and then work backwards on what are the daily habits and steps and actions that I'll need to take to get there. Because that's absolutely something that I have similarly done. I'm like, all right, throwing it, like, I'm not worried about the how. It's just like, what do I really want? Like, what do I desire in my heart? And I want to do a podcast. I don't really know where to start or how it's going to work or whatever, but let me just start taking the steps to get there.
Yeah.
And then lo and behold, things start falling into place. So I love that. And I definitely want to encourage, if you're listening to this, try the same thing at home and continue to do
Exactly. And so, I take it a bit further. So something that I do find very powerful to utilize in your life is the visualization. So when you look at who you want to become, the steps that it takes to get there, you visualize every aspect down to the very minute details. How do you speak? Who is your network? Daily habits for health. What are you eating? What are you consuming as a consumer on social media? For example, a lot of children these days, they just swipe constantly.
The Coco Melon kids.
And it's just like zombie states, right,
Yeah.
Ailani? And so I urge people, not you, but I urge people to take a look at their home screen, like on Instagram. What is the content that you're filling your mind with? Is it a bunch of pretty people? Is it a bunch of, luxury assets, or, things that really don't add value? What's a value add? Start being conscious of the information that you're consuming.
Yep.
Because that's going to give you the most growth. So look at that homepage. What is the content that the algorithm is telling you you're looking at? Is it the person you want to become? If not, you can literally on social media be following someone, and if they're not in the alignment or producing content that is adding value to you, you can silence that post.
Yeah, mute it.
Say,
I'm not interested. It has literally on there. It's like, I'm not interested in
interested. And that way you're very conscious about the information you're consuming. so that it helps you become the person that you want to become.
No, that's great, because you heard the expression "you are what you eat," but that goes the same with just consumption in general. And so you need to be at least aware of what you're consuming, because a lot of it has psychological effects that are unconscious. You don't even realize they have an impact on you. So I think that's all really important. We have had a really robust discussion. We've been everywhere from acting and modeling to quantum physics and mental, psychology. So I guess as we wrap up, we'll start with you, Ailani. What are some words of encouragement you would say to young girls out there, or just young people in general, about chasing your dreams and taking a leap of faith on yourself?
Give me a second.
Go ahead. Mom, if you want to go ahead and give some tips to all the moms out there, all the people who are raising young people, the dads too. They're like, hey, I want to give my daughter or my son all these amazing opportunities. What are some tips you would give to them?
So something I would say as a parent, for me, that is very important, is not being an enabler. Children need to be able to navigate and problem solve. And I think a lot of times parents do disservice to their children by trying to solve a problem for them or tell them who they need to be. Like, oh, I think you should be a lawyer. Or, oh, wouldn't you want to? What about, let them be creative. Let them experience all of these different facets of life. Maybe they like it, maybe they hate it, but they're going to figure that out along the way. And I think supporting their creativeness and their desires is going to set them up to be very successful. And something that I always mention to Ailani is, let's say I'm a billionaire. I lose I'm a billionaire and I decide I'm not going to give any of that money to my daughter. Sorry. What legacy am I able to provide for her that she can leverage, that I've given her, that I can't really take away? Connections, network. I could lose $1 billion, but if I have the network that I was able to make that $1 billion with, I can make it again.
Right.
So encouraging them as children to leverage not only the parents' network, but their own. Who are they surrounding themselves with? How are the kids that they're, hanging out with? Ailani has incredible friends, and they're amazing children, actually. Like, I really enjoy her friends, but they're smart and they're kind. And for example, she stands up to bullies. If someone says,
I don't have any bullies.
You stand up to bullies. Like, for example, in school, if someone says something negative to one of her friends, she's like, I don't want to be friends with someone like that.
That's great.
And that's okay.
That's great.
She's creating those boundaries for herself and surrounding herself with people that are going to add value and have the same mindset. So that. Again, going back to the core values, kindness, transparency, and honesty, and impact. Those things are huge. So I think as a parent, my number one and biggest advice is let your children explore and learn more about themselves for themselves.
That's great.
Not for you.
That's a great word right there. Do some snaps for that. I feel like poetry.
Some snaps. For example, with Ailani, when we lived in Madrid, Spain, I put her on a plane from Madrid to North Carolina by herself. Why?
And how old was she?
She was 8.
Wow.
I was? Oh, yeah, I was.
And I did it because I wanted her out of her comfort zone. I'm not going to be a crutch. I want to be her support. But I'm
That's
not
a crutch.
going. No, support and crutch is different. So
well,
support
a crutch is a supporter.
Correct. And
She's
yes
too
and
smart
no.
for her own good.
I told you also. She's putting me on the spot.
Right.
But what I mean by that is, I'm going to support her in everything that she wants to do, but I'm not going to do it for her.
Yeah.
And that's the difference in between supporting and being that crutch. So just let them explore, do their own thing. And it's okay if they fail, because failure makes them better.
It's a great teacher.
It's the best teacher. And you can also, utilize mentors that have been through it and maybe failed and figured out the right way to do it. Having a good mentor and knowing that, the mentor is able to help you navigate those realms so that you learn from their mistakes. So maybe you don't create those same mistakes is also very valuable.
Beautiful. All right, Ailani, what do you want to tell the people?
Your turn.
Get off your phone and like start building toward your future. So like stop scrolling on TikTok and Instagram and like actually do something. Stop being lazy.
No, that's great. I mean, I think especially with our generation and the generation coming up, it's easy to get hooked on your phone and watch other people living their life. Like, no, put the phone down and go live your life. So I think that's great. Where can we keep up with you all on social media or websites? Like, how can we keep in touch?
So my Instagram is Ailani by Design. It's just lowercase, no spaces. Can you like edit it and
I'm gonna put it
it
on the
in?
screen. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And then I'm actually Melanie _
She
by
copied
design.
me.
I copied her. No, but yeah, you can find me on Instagram, Melanie by Design. And we're always involved in a lot of events throughout the community, and we do post it on our social media. This summer, we're going to be in Europe the entire summer, as I had mentioned,
Yep.
working with the Dealmakers.
And Scotland.
And Scotland too, yes.
And Scotland.
And Scotland.
Nice.
Doing some global business making.
Amazing.
And so if anyone's interested in learning more, if they want to come on the ship and be an entrepreneur and get involved with deal making, that's something that I can definitely help them with. I would love to help mentor and bring them into our ecosystem.
Wow. That's great. Melanie, Ailani, I really appreciate you guys for making the time. You guys brought a ton of value, definitely inspired me. I know you're going to inspire other people. So thanks for coming on and sharing your knowledge and wisdom. Appreciate it.
Jordan, I
Thank
appreciate
you.
you having us both, and excited to see everything that you have in the future.
Thank you.